want them to come from a place of feeling inspired and feeling so excited and counting down the days when your package comes in, or counting down the days when they get to work with you. What's up, business baddies? I'm Rima, and you are now tuned in to The Remix, where being overbooked is overrated and simple businesses are sexy. Today, we're gonna talk all about pricing. I've been having such great conversations in my DMs as a result of a video that I released about the 3 mistakes when releasing your online course or really any product. And one of the things I talked about was how we overthink pricing. You have asked me so many questions in my DMs, and I'm really grateful for all the questions that you submitted. I want to tell you my story about pricing, why this is something I'm so passionate about, and why I want to help you avoid some of the mistakes that I made when I first started my business. So when I first started The Remix, I was doing monthly retainer services for brand and marketing consulting. So retainer services are basically when a client retains you or keeps you contracted working for them for several months. So it depends on what the agreement is. And when I started off, I was doing 3 to 6 month retainers with clients. And I was pricing those between $1,000 and $3,000. At the time, it seemed like a lot of money to me, but when you spread that money across 3 or even 6 months, it doesn't leave you with much, especially if you are a full-time entrepreneur. So I had to adapt really quickly. But at the beginning, I will say I got on 5 sales calls from people who, were interested in maybe working with me. And 4 out of 5 of those people ended up working with me. I should have known at that point that maybe my prices were not high enough, especially because all 4 of the people that I ended up working with paid in full instead of taking, the monthly payment plan. And that's another thing we can get into later on in this video. So from there, I was feeling a little burnt out because month after month, I was doing this work with these clients and I just didn't feel good about my prices. So with each new client, I would raise my prices a little bit. So not only was I learning as I was going, but my clients were benefiting from a version of me that had been more experienced. Today, I am charging over $5,000 for a day of my services. I am doing in a day, I'm able to turn around in a day what I had previously been doing in 3 to 6 months. So while it might seem crazy to you that somebody would pay $5,000 for a day's worth of work, I have stopped looking at money as something that should be attached to time. So if that intrigues you, or if you just think I'm crazy and you're curious as to how I'm able to pull this off, definitely stick around. As someone who has not only learned really quickly how to sell at a premium price point, but as someone who has also purchased several times at a premium price point, I am enrolled in a couple coaching programs that are almost $10,000. And I was actually excited to pay that amount. So here are my 3 biggest tips as someone who has learned not only to charge at a high ticket, but also as someone who has paid high ticket several times. Number 1 is decide on a number that you would like to make, whether it's on a monthly basis, whether it's for one engagement, whether it's for one product, if you're a product-based business. Decide on a number that you would like to make, and then look at your product or service and ensure that the value measures up to the number. Now, a lot of people would highly disagree with this advice. I actually literally watched a video the other day where an entrepreneur advised to her audience that you should literally do the opposite. You should look at the value and then back into a price. And the reason that I'm actually not in favor of that approach, especially as a woman of color and specifically an Arab woman, it just leads to so much imposter syndrome. It literally opens the door and it's like, come in, imposter syndrome, come in, self-doubt, come in, shame, come and sit with us and you tell us how we should price this product or service. And I know you feel me. I know that when you are thinking about your price, a lot of times this imposter syndrome, fear of judgment, self-doubt starts to creep in and starts to help you try to calculate that number. And that's actually what I'm wanting to help you avoid. That is why I'm telling you that you should come up with a number. If you are a service-based business, just literally pick a number that feels really good for you, and then backtrack and look at your service, examine your service, and ensure that there is enough value, there is enough benefit to your client that would make you feel excited and proud and powerful selling at that rate. If you are a product-based business, I know it could seem really tempting to just look at the costs of your product. Let's say you are in the business of stationery and you are looking at the cost of your stationery. Paper, ink, all of those things are not super expensive. So you might just think that as long as you're at 50% margins, you just double, you multiply the cost by 2, or I think someone even mentioned a rule of thumb of multiplying by 4, and that is your price. I really don't agree with these rules of thumb because I just don't think that is how business works. And more importantly, that is not how your customers are valuing your product. We will get into that in a second, but I want to introduce a completely different school of thought where you, as the woman of color in business, just throw imposter syndrome out of the room, sit with yourself and your business, come up with a number that feels good and feels aligned to you, and then backtrack and make sure that your product or experience or service feels aligned to that number. So the next thing I want to say about price is it truly helps you do something that I've been saying all week, and that is attract, don't chase. Stop chasing and start attracting. Price is an amazing way to do that because a lot of times we feel the need to lower our price so that we can chase our customers down. Like, hey, have you seen this? It's cheap. It's really cheap. It's affordable. I know you could afford this. I know you want this. And it's like that is the number one way to devalue yourself and your business in the eyes of your customers, is to price at a price point that you think they can afford or that you think they'll be able to justify because you are too scared to value yourself highly. And the reason I say attract and don't chase is because a really interesting thing happens when you choose a price that feels good for you. You will detract and literally weed out people who are not aligned with your business and are not aligned with your values. Because if you're pricing at a non-discounted rate, whatever that is for your industry, you will weed out discount shoppers. And let me tell you why you don't want discount shoppers. Let's just think about you. Forget your target audience, forget your target customer for a second. That's probably like the only time in life you will ever hear me tell you to forget your target audience. Let's just focus on you. There are certain things that you are a discount shopper for that you will not purchase if it is above a certain price point. But there are also certain things that you will be willing to multiply that rate by 100 for, whatever it is. There are certain things that you value based on your pain points, based on your needs, based on your values so highly that you will pay a premium, whatever the premium is in that industry. And if you just look at yourself and how you behave when you are paying a premium, you're coming from a place of excitement to pay for that product. You're coming from a place of gratitude. You're coming from a place of just feeling very aligned with whatever that product or service is that inspired you to pay at a higher price point. And then if we take the examples where you are a discount shopper, you are already setting a ceiling on the benefit that this thing can do for you. You're like, okay, this shouldn't be more than this. I don't actually value this thing that much. That's literally exactly what you're saying. I don't value this thing that much. Why would I pay this much for that if I could just get it for this? You're not interested in any type of transformational experience with this product. It is a means to an end. If you want your customers to look at you as a means to a simple end, then you should price at a discounted rate. If you want people to feel about your product or service or experience, even if it's the packaging experience, all of those things are part of the transaction. If you want them to come from a place of feeling inspired and feeling so excited and counting down the days when your package comes in, or counting down the days when they get to work with you, then you should be pricing at a point that detracts and weeds out people who are not looking for a transformational experience. And you need to not be scared to do that. You need to not be scared for certain people to see the price and run away, because there will also be people who see the price and are like, oh my God, yeah, I got this. Like, I'm so excited. Because sometimes price also can signal value. And that's a whole nother conversation that we'll get into in a minute. The third tip that I want to give you about pricing builds right off of that last point, and it's that people actually want to pay. People want to pay. Sometimes paying makes people feel confident that this product is good or this service, I'm in the right hands. I paid 10 times more than I can afford for my website at the time, and I was excited to do it. I was so excited to pay a premium because I felt that I was just giving my web designer all of my thoughts and my vision in my head and having her figure it out and bring it to life. And I felt so excited throughout the whole process. There was not one moment where I'm like, she's not worth this. Like, oh, this is so annoying. Why did I pay that much? So I will say that this takes a level of self-awareness. My web designer knows that she is operating in what's called her zone of genius. This is the field that she is uniquely able to play in, and she kicks butt. She is amazing at branding. She is amazing at bringing someone's vision to life and putting it together in a really effective, fun, and aligned experience. She's super intuitive with it. And some people might look at a website and think that it's only valued at $200 or even $2,000. She was able to get away with paying a lot more. She's even raised her prices, which I'm super happy about, because she's making me feel like I can trust her. I felt like I could entrust her with something that's so personal to me. So I want to recap those 3 tips, or I guess lessons that I've learned. And number 1 is to just decide on a number. Take the drama out of it. Kick imposter syndrome out of the room. Kick self-doubt out of the room. Once you get them out of the room, you can start to think clearly and really feel like, come up with a number that feels right to you. And once you look at that number, to be fair to your customers, you should then examine your product/service and ensure that there is enough value where you, as the business owner, feel excited and confident and proud to announce your rates when you talk to your customers. We'll get into that in a second as well. Number 2, attract and do not chase. And inherent in that advice is be okay detracting. Your price, if you are doing it the right way, will definitely weed people out and who would waste your time or leave bad product reviews no matter how good your product is, because they are constantly resentful of the fact that they have to pay. You don't want to deal with people like that. So attract the right people, detract people who are not aligned with your values. And then last but not least, just remember that there's nothing shameful about having people compensate you for your genius, for your time, for your product, for your work. So the right people want to pay, and just constantly remind yourself that there's no shame in this transaction. People are excited to give you their money when there is alignment between yourself and your customers. So I know this was a lot of information, and I'm sure that from all of these responses, you still have questions, and I would love to answer them. I'm sure there will be a part 2 to this video where I delve even deeper into some of the topics that I covered. I would love to hear what mindset shifts this has taken you through. I'd love to hear what questions you still have as a result of hearing some of this advice. Do you agree with this advice? Do you disagree and think I'm crazy? I'd love to hear any of it. And I want to thank you so much for watching, and tune in again next time.